but when you get down on the bottom, it's icy down there from that rain and that mix that we had a little bit overnight, that first snow and these dropping temperatures. So you definitely want to be careful if you're going out and you're shoveling or if you're walking the dog. Because of how strong these waves are, again, whipping winds, you can see just how massive these waves are coming in here to the seawall, going right over it. We've seen some people throughout the morning coming over here to Narragansett Town Beach, getting a look at these waves. Actually, earlier this morning when we were walking right up against it, these massive waves just came and spilled right onto someone that was outside taking pictures. We actually spoke with him. You're going to hear from him coming up on ABC6 News at noon. We have some of those power outages that you're talking about right here in West Warwick. We're over here on Quaker Lane, right in between the Mitsubishi and the Acura dealerships, just about a half mile down the road from the Quaker Valley Mall. I want to step out and give you a look here. You can see parts of Quaker Lane are closed. We have Rhode Island Energy trucks on scene here. And if you take a look on the left side of the road where some of those lights are, you can actually see just a little bit one of those power lines that have been knocked down. Again, that's causing a lot of the power outages in this area. Just in the last 15 minutes, we can update you that truck, it has been recovered from the water. You take a look here behind me. Crews have just now been able to fully get it out of the water. Again, earlier this morning, we learned from the East Providence Fire and Police Department, one person confirmed dead after that car went into the water here. A Starbucks here in the Financial Center is supposed to open at 6 o'clock this morning. We saw some employees walk in just a few minutes before 6, but at last check, the lights, they remain off. Just tried to open the doors, they remain locked. So unclear if they plan on opening this location today. If they do, though, they're going to be severely understaffed on one of the busiest days of the year. 17 hours long standoff spanning from yesterday at just about 3 p.m. all the way through the night into this morning at just after 8 a.m. when police were finally able to peacefully take Rotundo and his wife into custody. For some of the residents, those living in this duplex back here, they were actually told to evacuate the home after a suspect allegedly came to that duplex with a gun, threatening one of the people inside. From there, a several hours long standoff ensuing with police and ending with the SWAT team shooting that suspect and then being taken into custody. That train that you hear coming by at this time, as well as the building right behind it in between that brush, trying to control that fire quickly to not spread it to the building, as well as the safety of those firefighters being right next to that train. I want to step out now and give you probably the best look that we've had this morning at the damage that was left behind from this fire. You can see right through this home at this time and the trees in the backyard. That thin layer up top, but it's getting a little bit heavier underneath. And what does that mean? It is perfect snowball making weather. Throwing that over to our photographer, Audrey. Take a look here behind me. This place is filling up. We have been open since 9 a.m. Start off with a little bit of a crowd, but pretty soon you're not going to be able to find a place to stand if you don't get down here. You can feel the emotion here at the Station Memorial Park this morning. Some cars starting to pull in, some people starting to head into the memorial. Getting the knowledge and the skills out to as many people as possible. Can you just talk about, how important something like this is?
Certainly. So
We are here on Park Street by the Park Street Apartments where, like you said, rescue efforts underway for some of the residents living here after some pretty severe flooding. I'm going to step out, give you a look. You can see the water filling up the entire area of this apartment complex. Actually just was able to speak with a fire official just a few moments ago. He tells me that more than 24 people have been rescued by boat out of their apartments, brought out just a few seconds before we came on camera. We saw 2 of those residents getting brought into a fireman's car, getting brought to another area where they're likely going to be staying as a result of this flooding. But again, you can see that water damage over here, and this is kind of what it looks like all across the state. The damage not just here in Johnston, other areas across Rhode Island dealing with flooding damage. We were in Cumberland a little bit earlier this morning where a road in a residential neighborhood actually collapsed as a result of this storm, and we spoke with some people in that area.
It's a major inconvenience.
It's been a horror show.
Heavy rain falling overnight, bringing damage to neighborhoods across the Ocean State. In Cumberland, Westwood Road shut down after a portion of the road collapsed after the rain. Repair crews on scene throughout the morning, and residents left shocked when they came outside and saw the road was gone. What's the first thing you think of when you see that?
Not again.
I started seeing cars turn around about 6 in the driveway, and I'm like, something's going on up the street.
It's starting to, get on your nerves, and it's like, okay, what else can we do?
And the damage not limited to just Cumberland. The whole state experiencing effects from the rain. including Providence, with heavy flooding on roads like Atwells Ave, Charles Street, and Branch Ave as well.
Almost every time there's a big rainstorm, this part of Branch Ave gets flooded.
Branch Ave closed down for several hours during the busy morning commute as the street was left underwater. One car that attempted to drive through the flood left stuck.
And now I have to go all the way back around and jump back in all that traffic that I just witnessed.
The storm's aftermath resulting in a hectic morning, and not just for residential areas. 146 North by Breakneck Hill also flooded, delaying drivers on their way into work after multiple cars were left stuck in the water. And again, this storm wreaking havoc across the area. Again, back here live in Johnson, where the rescue efforts are underway for the residents here in the Park Street apartments. Again, you can see the water, how far up it's going, and really across the entire complex over behind these buildings over here. Even more water flooding out the area. Now, going back to Cumberland, of course, you heard from one of the residents over there that lives on Westwood Drive, Art Poirier, and he told me that the road also collapsed 30 years ago, but they haven't had to experience something like that in a long time. Of course, flooding with all these storms that we've had over the last few weeks as well. The snow flooding as well, about the 6 inches that they got over there in Cumberland. So really just a lot of damage that people are dealing with today. And of course, here in Johnson as well, with these residents having to be evacuated. We're live in Johnson. Yanni Tragellis, ABC6 News.
Much more cognizant of the side streets that were contributing to choke points.
On the second full day of the Washington Bridge shutdown, drivers were once again greeted with congestion on the roadways for their morning commute.
Took 2 hours to get home and then 2 hours to go back. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Crews continue to work on fixing a failed anchor pin that had been found to be severed in the bridge that caused an emergency shutdown Monday afternoon. Governor Dan McKee joined by Mayor Bob DeSilva on a tour through East Providence to meet with local business owners and residents to hear their concerns as they deal with the shutdown.
Ensure that we provide the resources locally to help the residents in East Providence who are being impacted as much as the traffic that is being diverted.
Traffic did appear to move at a slightly quicker pace Wednesday morning, but drivers still frustrated with these longer commutes.
About 12 minutes to get here. We've been in traffic 48 minutes.
I had to leave at 5 o'clock yesterday. Yesterday took me about 4.5 hours to get to work. I ran out of gas on the highway.
About an hour and a half.
Same thing yesterday?
I stayed away yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not. And for 3 months we got to do this. This is crazy.
Initial estimates from RIDOT officials is it'll take 3 months for the Washington Bridge to be back to normal operation, although engineers are hopeful to be able to turn some of the shutdown eastbound lanes into westbound lanes to get some cars back on the bridge. But the drivers sitting in traffic this morning aren't getting their hopes up.
What do they say, 3 months? I say 3 years.
Many of the approximately 96,000 drivers who go over the bridge every day now sitting and waiting for the majority of their day to get over the Henderson Bridge detour into Providence.
Thinking of that driveway, turning around, and going back home. I just canceling my day.
Yeah, Cara, some really exciting stuff going on over on the Narragansett Bay campus. When these benthic landers are deployed, they'll descend more than 2 miles deep into the ocean to study the coral reef. And with 4K cameras equipped on them, after this project is complete, we'll get our first look at some of the areas the ocean never studied before. A project with passion.
It's all seemingly coming together at this one point in time.
Inside a building tucked away on the University of Rhode Island's Narragansett Bay campus, a group of students and their professors are putting the finishing touches on a project that's going to uncover one of the least explored places on Earth.
We have really good understanding of what's going on in the surface, but as we go deeper and deeper and deeper, we know significantly less, exponentially so.
Andrew Davies is a marine biologist and professor at URI, and he's leading a team building 2 benthic landers that will be dropped off the Gulf of Mexico sometime this spring and spend the next year at the bottom of the ocean studying the coral reefs.
So when we get to some of these sites that we're going to deploy these landers at, no human has ever seen them. No instrument has ever recorded the condition.
After a year underwater studying the coral, the landers will resurface. Davies and his students will then study the data recorded.
See things like storms passing through, so being able to pull out signals in the data that have meaning or that are associated with some event that we can identify can help us understand kind of how the environment itself responds to broader oceanographic processes.
This project, a monumental one in the oceanographic research, Some of the depths of the ocean these landers will study have never been seen by any human before. It's a culmination of years of research by biologists Andrew Davies and Christopher Gomes, and an even more amazing opportunity for the students that are also a part of it.
Watching them develop and kind of build up their own skill sets and set themselves up for future success is really just a rewarding aspect of this work.
Really great thing for me to understand how science works in the long run and be a part of a team that's putting out some really great science in general.
Yeah, just some awesome stuff going on there at URI. Andrew Davies telling me that he's been working towards this moment for 20 years. Now it's finally all coming together right now, about a month or two from deploying these deep sea landers, and a year from now, get to record portions of the ocean that have never been seen by any human in history. In the newsroom, Yanni Tragellis, ABC6 News. On April 1st, John Owen Habib was in Morocco with friends when tragedy struck.
It's the cruelest April Fool's joke of all time.
The Brown University student was on a hike when he fell, breaking his spine, both of his femurs, and his ankle. His injuries so severe, he was left in a coma for several days before ultimately dying in a Moroccan hospital on Monday.
To say we were distraught would be, a severe understatement. I mean, we were all at a loss.
His brother, Jordan Habib, speaking to ABC6 from his hotel room in Morocco after his brother's death, describing the events of the past 10 days. As his family tried to work out a way to get John Owen back to the U.S. to get him treated at a hospital closer to home. And on Monday, after more than a week of pain and suffering, the Habib family finally secured transportation for John Owen back to the U.S., and he was set to get on a flight on Tuesday. Moments later, however, the family learned the 21-year-old had passed away.
That was his way of telling us that we have done all we can and that, that his time had come.
John Owen's death, stunning family and friends back home.
Does it make sense? I haven't comprehended that he's gone. I can't think about anything.
John Perrick went to Portsmouth Abbey with Habib before they went their separate ways. Perrick, now a junior at Syracuse University. The longtime friend calling Habib the brightest soul in every room, always living in the moment and always striving for the best in himself and others.
I never had a bad moment with him. There was never a moment where I was frustrated with him or mad at him.
In the days following the tragic accident, the family turned to the community in an effort to pay for John Owen's travel back to the States.
I asked my parents, should I set the goal at $5,000?
But what happened next, they could never imagine. The GoFundMe page gaining thousands of donations, totaling more than $200,000 in less than 2 days after the fundraiser was first created. And beyond just the money donated, people also sharing memories and stories of John Owen Habib.
He's touched the lives of so many people. I mean, the messages that I've read through emails of stories that people have shared to me, I have not made it through a single one without crying. I mean, it's so heartwarming.
Jordan tells me they plan to continue raising money to start a foundation in John Owen's name to give kids that love exploring the world and learning the opportunity to do so, putting the money and John Owen's legacy to something they know he would have wanted. Reporting in Providence, Yanni Tragellis, ABC6 News.
It's just so.
Now, we've just heard from Governor Dan McKee and RIDOT Director Peter Alviti giving their latest press briefing at the RIDOT offices. Want to give you a quick update and rundown on what was spoken about. Of course, the 2 bypass lanes opening up this morning on the Washington Bridge, originally scheduled to take 2 weeks. That project now moving up in timeline, being able to open now on Friday. Some other notes for you to know about. At 11:21 a.m. this morning, a major update, a disaster declaration signed into effect. That will allow for loans and small business relief for businesses on the East Bay that have been affected by the Washington Bridge's closure and the delays that have gone on in the East Bay in the week since. Also, Director Alviti saying that since the 2 bypass lanes on the westbound side opened up this morning, it has cut traffic back down to where it was before the bridge was shut down. In the wake of severe storms that swept across the area at the beginning of this week, Governor Dan McKee issuing a declaration of disaster emergency yesterday to help with the recovery efforts across the state. According to the governor's office, the declaration will allow Rhode Island to potentially access relief funds from federal emergency management agencies. Although the state's damage assessments are still being worked on now, McKee says that the state is prepared to help residents and businesses. Meanwhile, a residential road in Lincoln is now reopened after a water main broke last night. Public Works crews spent the night trying to fix the break on Old River Road in the Mainville section of town. The road had to be blocked off so that emergency repair crews could work over there. So far, there's no word on what caused that water main break. Well, the Pats in Denver last night looking for a Christmas miracle. And after a sluggish start in the first half, it would be Zeke Elliott catching a pass and then hurdling a defender to put the Pats up 9-7. Then fast forward near the end of the quarter, it's Bailey Zappi moving around in the pocket to buy time and then hitting Mike Gesicki in the back of the end zone, making it a 16-7 lead for New England late in the third. But that lead, it would not be safe. The Broncos coming all the way back, scoring twice to even things up and make it 23-all late in the fourth quarter. But the Pats, with a statement drive under a minute to go, setting up this 56-yard Chad Ryland field goal, and he puts it right down the middle to put the Pats up 26-23, and they hold on with just 2 seconds left. An early Christmas present for Pats fans, a big win on Christmas Eve to improve to 4-11 on the season. Finally, the big day. Today is the grand opening of Topgolf Rhode Island over in Cranston.
Get excited. It's something that fans have been eager to try out for a while now. I know it's been the talk of our newsroom.
We're excited.
Yes, of course.
Very Merry Christmas to you, Jeff.
You as well, Yanni. Look at us, all festive with our red.
I'm still jealous. We never switched the suits. We said we would.
Oh, that's right. That was even my idea.
The present that I brought you that's sitting in the back, you're not getting it anymore. Yep.
Well, I happen to have an exact replica of this suit for you.
Perfect.